In Era 5, revolution spawned industrial societies by strengthening political and economic influence over other societies. From 1750 to 1900, in Europe and North America, both the US and Europe experienced racism as a result of imperialism, and both geographically gained land in the Pacific. In contrast, the US limited itself to gaining land in the Pacific, whereas the Europeans were prominent on a global scale. Charles Darwin, an English biologist, wrote a book, The Origin of Species, with the main slogan, Survival of the Fittest. This emerged to be scientific racism. An English philosopher, Herbert Spencer, justified that Europeans were most dominant over subject peoples. Not only did Europeans experience this, but so did the US when the US forces were in the Philippines, describing the rebels as gooks, referring to Filipinos, Koreans, or Vietnamese. This social emergence changed the view of society from a different standpoint. Pacific lands were originally inhabited by merchants, whalers, and missionaries, specifically Australians. European states approached the Pacific seeking out coaling stations and naval posts, bringing smallpox and measles along with them. After disputes, the British military undertook brutal campaigns and succeeded in replacing the Australians from their land. Similar to the British, America ran into conflict with Spain declaring a war called the Spanish-Cuban-American War. The U.S. investment resulted in victory, gaining possession of Cuba and Puerto Rico, and later the Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Honduras, and Haiti. Both the U.S. and Europe gained land after tensions with the Pacific inhabitants. European states sought to imperially gain control of land worldwide, whereas the U.S. seemed to stick to the Pacific and Latin America. British imperialism in India introduced new crops, railroads, and telegraph lines. After the Great Game, all of Southeast Asia had been under European imperial rule, except for the Kingdom of Siam. With the help of early explorers, David Livingstone's missionaries, Henry Stanley starting the colony of Congo, European powers had already seized almost the entire continent from 1875 through 1900. Lastly, Europe had pushed Australia out of their land, inhabiting the majority of the land. In contrast, the U.S. did not gain control of as much land in comparison to European imperialism. Sticking to the Pacific and Latin America, the U.S. gained control of Cuba and Puerto Rico after the Spanish and Cuban-American War. Imperialism in Chapter 33 and industrialization in Chapter 30 have synthesized to contribute to the modern society we live in the 21st century. Without those revolutions, I would not be able to make this video essay on my laptop. Thank you, and that is my video essay.
All of the images used in this presentation are from Google Images. All of the information and evidence are used from the APWH textbook titled Traditions and Encounters.